Hello and welcome to the Choreography of Negotiation. My name is Shoan Snoday, and I am the founder and the voice of the Choreography of Negotiation podcast. And today we're going to go over the top 10 mistakes that even the pros make when it comes to negotiating a deal. Now, before we go into that, I just want to talk about a few things. One of them is Dr. Dre. Now, a lot of people know that Dr. Dre was a rapper, an artist, a producer, and all that stuff. And also they know that he made a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars with his contract with Sony with Beats by Dre. But what people don't know is right before the negotiation, Dre made a video with another rapper. Actually, the other rapper made the video, posted it on YouTube right before they finalized the negotiation, and Dre lost $200 million because of that video. And his negotiation, he thought he lost the deal. He got the deal, but he still lost a bunch of money because of that. Go ahead and research it. But, we're just going to get right into negotiation. Now, everyone negotiates. Everyone from a child wanting a cookie to being at a four-way stop sign to having the butter pass at the dinner table. There's always negotiations going on in our life at all times. And I want you to look throughout this week where you think some certain negotiations are going on and how they're affecting you and whether you're winning them or not. And remember, a negotiation is a win-win, not a win-lose. Okay? Now, when we talk about the choreography and negotiation, it's not so much about the dance or the choreography, okay? Because there's two types of country dance. There's line dancing. It's the same thing every time, the same steps. Everybody's doing the same thing. And you can go almost from East Coast to West Coast. I know there's a little differences and nuances, but you can pretty much do the same line dance all the way across America. But when it comes to the two-step, that's different. That's going to be some of the same moves, but they're going to be done at different times. There's going to be an actual communication between the couple on what move should be taken, what should be taken next, and what's going to happen. And the really good people that are doing this, they know how to do that. And that's where we're trying to get in this education that we're doing right now. Okay? So this, again, is a continued learning, continued education, and we are always having to strengthen our negotiation skills, our marketing skills, our sales skills. It's always good to be on the bleeding edge when it comes to doing business deals. Even the top dogs still get continued education, and that's all this is, a little bit of going into that, okay? So again, we're looking at the top 10 mistakes that negotiators make that can make or break a deal. And trust me, you can break a deal and your reputation in two shakes of a lamb's tail. So we don't want to do that, so we want to be aware what's going on. Now, the first mistake is weak preparation. You need to prepare, have a foundation, and get everything together. So some of the things you want to know is, are you meeting at a restaurant? Are you meeting in a conference room? Okay, if you're meeting at a restaurant, what if that restaurant has an issue and has to close? Do you have a backup? If you're meeting in a conference room, are you going to be face-to-face? Are you going to be sitting next to each other? Maybe you're doing an online negotiation. Are you going to be able to see their body language from the neck down? A lot of times you can't see that, and part of negotiating is reading that body language. Okay, and then we're going to go on emotions and instincts. So right here, you really want to be clear on the fact that applying these principles is going to be a principle that's just the same thing no matter where you go, no matter where you go in what country. Culture is going to be different. There's going to be different ways. You might want to bring a gift. You may not want to bring a gift, but the culture is going to change, but the principles are going to stay the same. So once you get through this, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to go into your next negotiation feeling more confident, especially if you do the workbook, because you're going to have certain things written down. Who's going to say what? Are you with the team? If you're with the team, there's certain things you want to know. If you're on your own, what are some of the objections, or what are some of the things you need to say or prepare yourself for? You want to write those down before you go in there and practice a little bit so you know what's going on. Okay? Another thing is no one ever does this, and everyone does it, but you're going to want to take massive notes. Always bring a piece of paper, because what will happen, say like you're in a 3-day or a 3-week negotiation, or even one that takes months and months and months, and someone says something and you can say, well, wait a minute, 90 days ago, you said this. You can go back to your notes. So you always want to take notes during your negotiations. Okay. Another thing is you can role play with your team. Okay. You could write down every single argument that you think may come up. So as you're going through all this, you want to get all this down before you go into the negotiation, because again, we're going to get into this later in this video, but you never want to argue, but you want to write down every argument that can come up and turn that argument into a discussion. Therefore, you don't have any drama or any high levels of anxiety during the negotiation. Okay. So you just want to make sure that the right people are speaking at the right time. You want to blueprint everything out before you go in there. There's certain worksheets that you can go through. It's not in my worksheet. But again, you want to know, where is everyone going to sit? Who's going to speak? Who's going to talk about what? I remember I went on a negotiation one time as a Microsoft engineer, and the project manager kept talking about the technical stuff. Well, she should have never been doing that, because I was the technical person, and we lost the deal, in a matter of fact, because they got really super confused because they didn't think we knew what we were talking about. So you always want the right people saying the right things at the right time. Okay, now I have this, consider what disputes may come to fruition. Now, again, this is just looking at what arguments might come up, or a dispute or a disagreement. You can actually meet these head on. And you also, if you write them down, you might be able to come up with the solution. So when that does come up, it bubbles up, you could say, hey, look, this is a disagreement we have here, but this is the solution. This is how we can come together. This is how we can make this win-win. And if you have that going in, you have a better chance than trying to do it on the fly. Okay, and again, doing this with your team, if they're not aligned, if they don't know what's going on, there's nothing worse than watching someone on your team literally dropping the ball, and you're sitting there and you don't want to say anything because you don't want to cause a lot of drama because everyone's in the same room. So you really need to be in line with everyone, and you need to burn, and I say this, burn into the consciousness of the team of what your plan of attack is going in. Okay. Now, mistake number 2 is not researching the opposing team members. A lot of times, I just was on a conversation with someone earlier today, and I asked them, how much research do you do before you go on a negotiation? And they kind of blew it off, but then they thought about it and they go, well, wait a minute. I just went on a negotiation. They were on their way, and they were going to buy an airline ticket, hotel, pay the whole gamut, and spend the money to go buy a business. And what happened? That business had bad reviews. So being that they researched it, the opposing team and the members and the owners and the founders, they said, wait a minute, this isn't a good business. I shouldn't do that. So you're always going to have to research. Okay. Now, a lot of people LinkedIn, but if you don't have that, if you have to go in cold, if you don't have any contacts, you can use LinkedIn, but there's other tools that you can use, such as Google, and there's Boolean logic. You can research all this. And I'll tell you that I researched one of my good friends. I won't say his name, but he's my coach, and he owns Digital Marketer, Scalable, and Trafficking Conversions, and a lot of other things. But what I researched on him, and I also happen to know this, he lives down the street from me. When I lived in San Diego, he lives on the ranch. I live down the street from Rancho Santa Fe. And the deal is he's good friends with William Shatner, who is the captain on Star Trek. Now, I did some more research through LinkedIn, and I found that my friend is also a member of the Hollywood Charity Horse Show. So he likes horses. Well, I went to that website and read about it and found out that William Shatner is also a member of the Hollywood Charity Horse Show. So they probably met there and became good buddies. And I love horses. I work with rescue horses, so I can actually bring that up as one of the things I do, just nonchalantly, because it's being honest and authentic, and it will actually build rapport. So you want to do that research as well. And like I said, bring up a topic about horses or music to get a casual conversation going. And again, like, I'm a musician, but when I research these other people and find out what they have in common, then I can actually keep that in my notes and bring that up. And it just helps build rapport and likability. Okay. But don't go weird. Don't find something out about someone that they wouldn't want brought up, or that they would be uncomfortable. You know, maybe they've been through a divorce, or maybe they're married to a celebrity and they don't want anyone to know that they're married to a celebrity. I know a lot of people. You know, I lived in Westlake Village, which was on the other side of Malibu Canyon. It's basically Malibu, just the other side of the canyon. And there's a lot of people out there that were married to celebrities, and they just didn't want them to know. And a lot of my friends were in that position. And I don't want to go too deep into that, but just don't come off creepy and weird. And if you do something like that, we call that throwing people under the bus. And remember that there's a saying: people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And if you go into the negotiation, you make people feel weird, or if you're just, you know, out of line, and I'm guilty of this. When I was younger, I've done this, you know. I was cracking jokes the whole time because my team didn't show up, and I was the Microsoft engineer and all the other things I couldn't answer. So I kind of goofed around. Everyone laughed. I bought an $85 bottle of wine, but I don't know whether we won the deal or not. But everybody missed their plane but me. Anyhow, that's how that one went. Okay, so just make people feel good, and do what you can, and it will provide fruit. Later on down the line, it will really froth up to the top, and there will be smiles at the end and handshakes. Now, the third one is trying too hard to be likable. Now, a lot of people do this. And what I mean by trying too hard to be likable, what a lot of people do is they're not authentic. They put on a fake smile. Now, people are going to know this. Remember, we run on emotions and instinct. And this instinct, when someone's trying too hard to be likable, your instincts kick right in, and you're like, there's something off, there's something not right. And that, even though you may not be expressing it or showing it, it's still there. It's still there. It's the pink elephant. It's the thing that isn't said, but it's said loudly. So just be authentic and have integrity and be ethical, and all will turn out well. Okay. Another thing is listening. This is a really big deal. They have that saying, wait, WAIT. Why am I talking, right? The trick to listening is to know when to be quiet, when to speak, and when to be insistent. And listening is probably 90%. And I mean listening, not hearing what they're saying, but listening. For instance, if you're out in the forest and you hear a tree branch crack or something, you say to your friend, hey, did you hear that? Let's listen. Okay. Listening is where you're listening with intention. The other thing is that you can go and start negotiating right now with your loved ones, and think of different ways that you can negotiate with them. I know with my family, every time we have a family reunion, I got to figure out, where is it going to be? What are we going to eat? What time are we going to eat? What time are we going to wake up? Are we going to go to the movies, or we're not going to go to the movies? I have to do this every single time. So just make sure that you can practice at all times, everywhere you go. Now, I just went over this, but again, during the negotiation, one of the things you want to make sure is it's a negotiation, and you don't just give in, especially if you're dealing with people you love and they walk all over you, and they always have. These are the best people for you to work with, to get the marbles out of your mouth, to work with the people that love, trust, and adore you, but they're the ones that walk all over you. Just learn how to start negotiating with them. If you can negotiate with them, you can negotiate with anyone, because these are the people that you probably fear the most. And you're not going to fear a stranger as much as you're going to fear a loved one. So just get down in that and look at different ways you can negotiate throughout this week, this month, and this year. Okay. Now, all of this that I said, it applies to business as well. And you're really going to be a lot more respected if you take your negotiation skills and just let them know that you're working with them, not against them. Okay. Now, you might disagree. You might not have a full understanding of what's going on. And it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I don't have a full understanding of what's happening here, and just get clarity before you move forward. Okay. So another thing is, we talked about earlier about arguing. When you argue your point, especially on a team, it just doesn't look good, because if one person is arguing their point, everyone else is getting really uncomfortable. And again, we go back to the emotions and the instinct, and that's really not going to be that good, especially in a team atmosphere, because afterwards they might not want to work with you anymore, and you might get voted off the island. Okay. I'm not saying that you'll not win the deal, but you're more likely to lose them if you are arguing all the time. And again, your team will see this as a red flag. And there's a saying out there about the reputation. Everybody says someone else wrote it. But the point is your reputation can get destroyed in a New York minute. And a reputation that you spent 25 years building can be destroyed overnight. So just make sure that you hold in your emotions, and maybe use some type of spiritual work that you do, whether it's meditation or going on a walk or playing tennis, whatever it is. Make sure that you're able to control your emotions going in. Okay. And this one's really important. It says, be quick to see. You can't see it, but it says, an argument is often taken to deal with conflicting opinions or beliefs, while negotiation deals with conflicting goals or interests. I'm going to say that again. An argument is often taken to deal with conflicting opinions or beliefs, while negotiation deals with conflicting goals or interests. Okay. Now, mistake number 4 is lack of connection or being more important. No one likes someone that's more important than anyone else. If you bulldoze your way in there, if you go in and you're not going to paint everyone into a corner, we'll go into that later on. If you're going to leave no room for negotiation, then people are just not going to like you. They're not going to like how everything's going. And people could just walk up and walk out of the meeting. So you really don't want to bulldoze people. You don't want to be a bully. Okay. This is all about being kind and considerate and having a win-win outcome. Okay. Again, like what I say, when your instincts kick in, you're going to know. So it's kind of like if you've ever been in a room and there's that one person in there, and you're like, oh, wait, there's something off about that person. I'm not sure what it is, but you just have that feeling. A lot of that is when someone comes in and they're like a smart aleck, and they're saying, hey, I'm going to come in and I'm going to clean up this one horse town, and I'm the man, and I got it going on, and everyone here is wrong, and I'm right, and I know what I want, and I'm going to make this happen, and I'm going to bulldoze you, and you guys are just going to love the fact that I'm here. Nobody likes that. And they could smell it coming from a long way. Even during coffee, before you walk into the room of the conference room, people can see it. They can see it in your eyes and your behavior and your walk. And so you just be humble and be authentic, and all will go well. Again, listening is a real powerful way. We're going to go into a couple techniques of listening. But one of the things that I've learned over the years is how to repeat back every single word to someone that is talking with me. So they'll say, you're not listening to me. And I'll say, oh, of course I am. And I'll repeat verbatim what they said to me. And that type of listening is really important. Not just listening, but understanding what they're saying. So we're going to go into the 2 types of common techniques. And there's a book out there that I think I talk about in this, and you're going to want to navigate the shortest path to a fruitful conclusion, but you're also want to get the most information and the most clarity so that you could come up with a solid contract that will go into more negotiations and more opportunities down the line. So the two common techniques we're going to talk about are active and empathic listening. So the active listening is you're listening specifically to acquire information or to develop some type of understanding to what the other party is going through. So you're really listening to get clarity, get understanding, and you can reply with an affirmative response, and it's not going to be dramatic. Now, emphatic is going to be a little different. That's where you'll be able to listen to the other party, even if you don't agree with them. So they might be saying this and this, and rather going in your head and saying, nope, 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 in your head, you're actually going to have all that removed, and you're going to listen to what they're saying, because they might say something that will sway you and influence you that will actually help the negotiation down the line. Another thing is, like I said, if you're on an online, like a Zoom meeting, or you're doing negotiations, or if you're in the room, don't cross your arms, don't get all huffy and puffy and huffy, but nod your head. You know, look them straight in the eyes. Let them know that you understand, or that you're connected. You know, let them know they're being heard. And again, when you're listening with intention, you're going to be able to repeat what they say, so you can actually say at the end of the conversation of that particular part of the discussion, you could go back over it and say some bullet points, this, and this, and they'll go, yep, that's exactly what we're talking about. Because the main goal is to engage with the other side without them feeling defensive. And if you do go into that with like your arms crossed, you're huffy and puffy, then that's just no way to build rapport and to be likable. The fifth mistake is you have only one angle. And what we mean by that is you're not thinking this all the way through. So you have to have multiple angles to your approach, and literally, what are the haves and the have-nots, right? And what are you willing to give up? Did you write that in the beginning? Hey, I'm going in with this, but I'm willing to give up that. You know, one of the questions I have here is, what is a non-negotiable? Okay, everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. And there really are no non-negotiables, but you might have some written down, and you may have reason to have them written down. Okay. So when it comes down to this, remember Kenny Rogers, if you're old enough to remember it, you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away, and know when to run. And during the negotiation, you really got to be in that space at all times. It's like not just a line dance, not just a two-step dance, but it's actually a game, and you got to know when to walk away. And there's going to be times when you just want to walk away, you stick it through, and it turns out it's the best decision that you made, is you stuck it through because you knew when to hold them, okay? Now, these guys have a book. It's a bestseller. It's called Getting to Yes. I'm kind of throwing it in there because it's a great book, and it gets into a little bit of these technologies of negotiations that you want to get into. And I'm going to go over a few of the things, and it's the customize the BATNAs to any situation that calls for negotiations. So list all the alternatives if your current negotiating ends in an impasse. So one of the things is if it gets kind of going sideways, you got to look at the different ways you can go. Okay, evaluate your alternatives. And here's a really good one, is calculate your reservation value, or the lowest value deal you're willing to accept. This should be figured out before you go in, and it's on the worksheet. So these questions are on the worksheet. So you're going to want to look at that and make sure that you get that all together before you go in so you can answer these questions. This gets more detailed, but get the book. It's really good, and you'll have a better understanding of what we're saying here. Okay. Again, Having a clear and concise BATNA places you in a position to exert yourself in a more powerful discussion that can get you a potentially better deal. So again, we got to give and we want to get, but we want to get more than we give. And of course, if you look at my book title, it's opposite. We want to win at this. Okay. We want everyone to walk away happy. All right. Mistake number 6 is just becoming too attached. I don't know if you've ever met someone and they're like, you're just like, oh my gosh, you're the perfect soulmate. You're my soulmate. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. And then just after a while, you're realizing it's really not the best fit. Okay. So this principle is a lot like that. So becoming too attached to the deal, it's going to come out during the negotiations. And if you want, people are going to know it and they're going to take advantage of it. So this is when you need to stay centered. Again, you have to have the best mindset possible. And again, don't let your emotions go out of control. And people will see that. If you get upset, angry, if you start crying, which I've seen at some meetings, it's not good. You know, some people don't want to let their baby go if they're selling their business while their spouse or their sibling does. Okay. You must always be willing to walk away from a deal with no regrets. So again, the main point with this is not to have regrets, not to get too attached to the deal. Know that going in, so you're not going to have a hurtful heart when you walk out. You're not going to have big regrets, and you're just not going to feel bad. Everything is about feeling good and being happy. Okay. So then the next question is, and it's on the worksheet, what does the fox say? Well, if the other party decides to call you back after you walk away, you're in a more powerful position than if you parted a wounded animal. They will know they have the fox's socks and can use this against you. So if they walk away and you call them back, then they know that they got it made in the shade. If you walk away, then you have the upper hand. So another mistake is not being flexible to future issues. Again, you want to do some future negotiations maybe with these people. And another thing is you might be going in as partners for the negotiation. There's certain things you want to do to grow the business. So again, everything is negotiable, especially when it comes to business. Everything is negotiable. And if you're not vigilant in your contracts, you can get caught in the vicious cycle. Some of the things that can happen is that can come back and bite you in the bum. So you want to be really aware of what's in your contract, what's going on, that everyone has clarity on that, and that you're not hiding anything. Again, it says here, once the contracts are signed, you might find yourself in a harrowing experience. It's happened a lot to a lot of people. So it's important to complete your due diligence and have the suitable legal advice in order to further your discussions. I'm right now taking over 40% of a company, and in that negotiation, being the way it's set up is that we're setting it up a specific way. So I'm going to have a little bit more power within the contracts within the LLC than just the 40%, because since I'm going to have the least amount of stock, they can make decisions, but I can counter that within the contract. So you want to get suitable legal advice in order to make all that happen. Again, it's important to complete your due diligence and your legal advice. Some of the most powerful contracts in Hollywood and sports arenas, if you follow sports and how some of these athletes are doing their contracts, they always have clauses that allow future negotiations, because they might go in there and fail big, right? So another thing is having the multiple exits. If you want to be successful, have different ways that you can step away and still be happy. It's all about everyone being happy and a win-win. Now, mistake number 8 is focusing on price, making it all about money. You never want to do that. You don't want to focus all on price. Of course, we all want to make money, okay? And if you make it only about money, you can miss out on a chance of future deals, because the other people will see the greed, the greed, the greed. And that's the fall of everything, is greed and pride. And we really want to just stay humble, and we want to make it, how are we going to make a difference? What are we going to bring to the table? And how are we going to make this healthy and happy for everyone? For instance, you may be able to insert additional services to improve the company. So with the company that I'm acquiring, another company that I'm acquiring, I put all my marketing tools in there. I'm an Infusionsoft partner. I have some really ninja tools, and I have True Conversions, all these other things, Zapier, Jotform. I have all these tools that can do major conversions and grow a company at least 5 times faster than without me. So I always have to have that additional service that I can install in a company during a negotiation. But if I'm not cool about it, then they don't care, right? People just don't care if they don't like you. They're going to try to find an exit. Okay. Again, this is a good friend of mine actually looked at a way of growing the business in order to exit. Okay. So what he did is he added an extra 100K just by adding his consulting services. Now, he had to do the consulting, right? And that took time out of his life. But again, he was able to install that, make it happen, and everyone was happy. And some money came in. And it was something that wasn't thought of initially when they first started partnering up. Okay. And you're always going to want to scale. Again, you're going to want to grow, scale, get more team members, and make sure that they fit your company culture, and that they have your core values. If you haven't done a core value type of exercise, I'd say Google core values and just really find that. I've done mine, and it's really powerful, and I won't work with anyone ever again that doesn't match up to my core values. One of my big ones is we don't sell hope, we fulfill it, and being ethical. So do your best, again, not to get emotionally involved. The more involved you get emotionally, the more people are going to see it, and it's just not going to help. So just make sure that everyone is happy with the money involved. My friend did a negotiation one time, and some people, they just wanted money so that they could travel. Another sibling just wanted out. They didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And the other sibling wanted to stay with the company. So he had to negotiate with all 3 siblings, and it was literally like being a referee, okay, or a life coach. He had to bring in skills to where he could deal with these siblings that were raised with each other, one that cared about money, one that didn't care about the money, and one that wanted to stay. And he had to really negotiate that into a fruitful conclusion, which he did because he's amazing. Okay. So again, I'm saying that some people, they just want peace of mind, and sometimes money is the least worry, but it's the biggest battle. It's like, okay, now we got to talk money, and we always want to talk about that last, and no one wants to bring it up, but that is going to be the biggest battle when it comes to negotiating. The last 2 mistakes, mistake number 9 is paint the other party into a corner. And again, if you give them no exit, if you give them no options, they're going to take the one that is just, I'm out, I'm out, I'm out. So be quick to see that negotiation is win-win. Can't say that enough. The conversation is not a win-lose discussion, okay? And if you do paint them in the corner, there may very well be no other options but to part ways. They're just going to say, you know what? I can't get out of this. I'm in a sticky situation. I'm out. Just like Shark Tank. So just make sure that you always give them out. Always give them an out. Okay? And again, that's leaving them with options, and it's going to be plan A or plan B. And by the way, plan A is not to enforce, plan B is not to enforce plan A. That's not giving them an option. You got to have plan A, this, or plan B, that. Not plan B is to enforce this plan A. It's not going to work. Okay. And again, when it's all about money, if one of the other party feels as if they have been compromised in order to finalize the deal, this can spoil future negotiations. So you might even close the deal, but then when you go to do more opportunities, more negotiations with these people, and they just have resentment over that, then you're actually losing more money than you're gaining. Okay. Plus you're losing out on referrals, friendships, and all of that. And the last mistake is having a my way or the highway attitude. I've seen people do this. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's not the part of the team spirit, A, and it's not part of the negotiation spirit. If you're leaving no wiggle room for anyone, if you're not letting them come together and at least be comfortable throughout the whole process, then it's really just going to put everyone in a really uncomfortable situation, and no one's really going to be happy with that. So when you say something like, this is my best offer, it is assertive, but your best can always be better, right? So there's still room for negotiation. So there's a difference between being aggressive and being assertive. And being assertive is okay, all right? Especially if you're not used to voicing yourself, just practice it with your friends and family. Be assertive this week with someone that you're really not assertive with, but don't be a jerk about it. Be kind, be loving, but stand your ground and just say, hey, this is where I stand and this is the best I can do right now, and see how it works. And it can always get better. Okay? And some people like to put a deadline on their negotiations to say at this date, this is going to happen. Adding urgency is always good. It never hurts. And you can always extend it. So your deadlines can always be extended, but ultimatums leave no chance. So if you say, if we don't come up with this decision by this time, I'm out. Well, a lot of times you're just going to be out. You're not going to get anywhere. Okay. So always leave a wiggle room for all sides to settle down and come to a positive outcome. And remember, this is a win-win conversation, and where everyone walks away happy and feeling good. So you have future opportunities and future negotiations so you can make a bigger impact in the world and live a more happy life. So my name is Shoan Snoday, and I believe in you. I believe in pivoting. I believe in scaling. I believe in you and your business. Feel free to give me a call, or you can hire me to speak at one of your events or on your podcast. Or if you need any help with mergers, acquisitions, buying or selling a business, or doing any valuations, I'm always available. So again, my name is Shoan Snoday. I am the founder and the voice of the Choreography of Negotiation. And thank you for coming to my training.